Welcome to Hope is Here, bringing hope to those struggling with life's difficult situations.
Welcome to Hope is Here. My name is GregJHorn, and we are talking with Twila Brown. Yesterday, we heard part of just her journey. Everybody's got a story. I love telling those stories. And man, if you missed yesterday's program, I want to encourage you to go to our website, hopeisheretoday.org, and check out that 14-minute program. But I asked Twila to stay for another program because just her journey of life, just how God's kind of woven through that over the past 3 years since COVID's been really, really cool. And we shared yesterday that when we got connected, we were trying to brainstorm and got together, kind of create a new idea for you to create a living for yourself. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so you gave me a fantastic idea. We were meeting one day and you saw how I was organizing my calendar and how I was holding myself accountable to goals and things like that. And it was really funny because you looked at me and you said, Twila, you need to teach other people how to do that. And I was like, Greg, it's not a big deal. And you said, no, it is a big deal because not everybody does things that way. You need to put together a workshop or a course where you show people just how to set goals for themselves, hold themselves accountable, leverage their calendar and their time to make sure that they're protecting it to get the things done that they want to do. And I was like, okay, well, I've got nothing else going on, so why not? And I went home and I built a website that day because I was like, well, I'm going to need to get registrations and get the word out. And so you really were a huge catalyst. And Greg, I can't tell you how thankful I am that you shared that and that God put us in that place because while I've not done any adult Cue the Confettis in a couple of years, I think, it has really snowballed into a really interesting opportunity for me to work with middle schoolers. And so that was cool. And that was your idea.
Well, and honestly, I had no idea that, I remember the conversation.
Yeah.
I definitely remember that, but didn't remember, that God spoke through me. And that's what's so cool
He sure
when you're
did.
with other believers that, God, shows you something. That was just your gift that's just who Twila is. But to me on the outside, look at him like, oh my gosh, man, that's really, really good. And then, of course you go, I didn't say anything about the website part, but you go home and do that. But I think somebody listening today, God's planning maybe an idea in your heart, but you're kind of delaying, waiting till everything gets perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we need to take action, don't we?
Yeah. So, I took action and it snowballed. So I did several adult workshops for Cue the Confetti where we did a vision board and talked about strategic scheduling and goal setting and accountability and all of that and how that can help you, achieve your goals and your dreams, off of your little vision board, right? But then I have two friends in my neighborhood that they became part of our driveway church group during COVID. They were neighbors that we didn't know before, and now they're in our life group. And so it's been interesting. But they're both educators. And they said, you should take your Cue the Confetti thing and you should turn it into curriculum for kids, middle school or high school kids. And I was like, okay. And they're like, yeah, no, really, the school system, they have money that they put into special programs and they've got to spend it. And, you should put something together and then shop it around. And I was like, oh, okay. So I went home and I did that right away because I'm a doer. When I have the idea, I'm like, okay, let's do it now.
But take action.
Stay up all night long if we have to get it done. But I went home and I started working on it and I turned Cue the Confetti, the adult workshop, into curriculum for middle schoolers. And I had no idea what I was doing, right? I didn't even know I liked middle schoolers, but I really like them a lot. They get a bad rap. And so I've been able to now work in 4 of the different middle schools here in Fayette County. And actually, they featured Cue the Confetti in their state program or brochure of programs available, I guess, providers, whatever you want to say. That was really cool. But yeah, and so I just refer to it as my covert mission field because I think kids these days, man, this world that we live in, it's crazy. The things that they deal with are things we did not deal with. They have so much coming at them. And I also really feel like we're seeing the enemy come at their identity in a way that we've never seen the enemy attacking before. Our generations had our struggles and the things that, Satan was out to get us with. But I feel like he's going at the heart of their identity, and their identities are image bearers of Christ. But if he can confuse them about who they are and who made them and who loves them and that they're on purpose and that they're perfect in God's creation and plan, then, that creates a lot of disorder and confusion. And I just see that happening. And so if I can go into middle schools and make relationships with these kids and then speak truth into them and over them, and they don't even know that it's Bible truth that I'm speaking to them, then man, what an awesome opportunity. And so that's what I do. And I love it. And my bosses are cool enough to let me go do it. Like they're like, we know you do this and we love it and you can keep doing it. And so it's just one blessing upon the next. So.
And then it all started over coffee or breakfast at First Watch.
I know.
3 years ago.
I know.
And me seeing just this really cool calendar that you had. I'm like, wow, what is that? Well, it's something I do. And yet how God has expanded it and you're making ripples throughout doing that. Well, one of the things, we all go through challenges and we're hearing all the sunshine part of things, and praise God for that, other than obviously when you lost your really good paying job that you really liked and had a lot of influence and travel. So that where things started in yesterday's program. But you kind of had a health scare. So share a little about that. Yeah.
So, gosh, what was that? I guess the summer of 2022, I think. I'm a moly person. I go to the dermatologist for skin checks every year, and they always shave at least, 1 or 2 off of me. And every once in a while they'll come back atypical. And so, it doesn't really concern me. And in that spring of 22, I'd had a mole removed and it was atypical. And she's like, just come back in, however many months, and let's just take a look and make sure it heals up okay. And that, it's not returning or whatever. And so went in for that skin check. I think it was in May actually. And, chit-chatting with her. Everything looked great for the spot. I still, got a couple vacations getting ready. We're going to go to the beach with our life group, and my husband and I have something else planned in the fall, and, really looking forward to these travels. And I happened to be wearing a sundress that day, and she said, well, you got a sundress on, so let me just look at your back real quick, because I can just look at you real quick and easy. And so I said, great, whatever. And so she looked me over, and she goes, this one looks a little funny. She said, probably nothing, but I think I'm going to go ahead and take it. And so a couple days later, usually you get the letter in the mail that's like, everything's fine or it's atypical, come back in so many months. Well, a couple days later, I got a phone call from her, and she said, hey, I wanted to call you because the spot that we took off is melanoma. Okay, so I thought melanoma was the good skin cancer, so I wasn't super concerned because that one doesn't sound scary, like squamous cell, and like that sounds scary, right? So I was like, oh, okay, it's fine, whatever. Like, you'll just take more off or whatever, and it's not a big deal. And then I Googled it later that day, and then I was like, oh no. And I called her back, and she's like, I thought you seemed a little bit chill about that. And she said, honestly, it didn't even look that suspicious. She said, it's literally God that, like, you were wearing a dress that I was like, let me just look at your back real quick. And that I took that spot off. But so that was, such an amazing, like God is just always in the details and at work in ways that we have no idea. And so they were able to go in and they did, the deep excavation or whatever of tissue, and everything was fine. And now I'm a very loyal skin, what am I trying to say? Sunscreen wearer. So wear your sunscreen, friends, as we're getting ready for summer months. I'm here to make that PSA for you. So, but amazing how God protected me.
Yeah.
Right before I was going to head to the beach and probably bake myself in the sun, which we know better, but that's what we do.
And we all still think we're young, right?
Right,
so we
right.
Do that.
Invincible.
Won't be a big deal. But well, please hear that message that Twila is sharing. You just tuned in. We're talking with Twila Brown, sharing some of her spiritual journey, her life story, and just want people to be able to connect, to hear how God is always working. He's a God of details. And, one of the things on part of our journey, one day I shared with you when we were meeting back 3 years ago that this guy told me that really believed in Hope is Here, said, hey, I've got this really good investment coming up. I think I'm going to do really well. In fact, I think I may make $1 million, and I'm going to tithe to Hope is Here. And so I'm doing the math, and he could tell. He goes, that means, Greg, you'll get $100,000 for Hope is Here. And of course, I was taken aback. Tears got in my eyes, and so I shared that with you because you asked if there's anything you could pray for me in the ministry. And you have this prayer wall at your home with your kids. So So talk a little bit about that.
Inspired by Elizabeth Hasselbeck has a children's book called Flashlight Night. or nights maybe. Anyway, great little kids book. I would highly recommend picking it up. But it is all about having this prayer wall and writing your prayer requests on the wall. And then in the book, they use their flashlight and shine it on the ones where they've seen God answer. And then you turn the flashlight off for the ones that are just a not yet. And so I read that book to my kids and I was like, babe, we got to go to Lowe's. I need some chalkboard paint. And he was a really good sport about it. He painted me a chalkboard wall that we have in our house. And so we write prayer requests on it. A lot of them are long-term prayer requests, but sometimes they're short-term too. And so we put, we had a HIH 100 circled on our prayer wall. And it was really exciting when you told me
like almost 2 years later,
that I could shine a flashlight on it.
Yeah. And it didn't come the way that we expected.
Yeah.
It was somebody else that's been blessed by the ministry, and their company had just a ridiculous year. And they said, if you'll utilize this, we will match it. So we did a matching $10,000 gift, and a couple of times, because I was like, nobody will believe $100,000, for our little ministry. But I share that to encourage people that, sometimes I think we don't pray for big things, do we?
Yeah. Big things, but it's funny. Okay. So yes, we need to pray for the big things, but the funny thing is that lately I've seen God answering like the smallest, littlest things too. Like the things that are silly, like that you're like, okay, why would God even care about that? He cares about everything so deeply. He cares about our big dreams and heart's desires. One thing I didn't tell you, when we were talking yesterday about NoviEdge, when I was a kid, all my life growing up, from the time I was like probably 3 years old, I would sit behind my parents' box fan in the summertime and pretend it was my news desk. And anyone who knew me up until, college age, they were like, oh yeah, she's going to be on the Today Show someday. She's going to be a journalist, whatever. Because that was my dream, was to be a journalist. And look, like God placed those desires in my heart. Now, am I on the Today Show? Am I a journalist? No, but I'm writing and I'm presenting and I'm doing public speaking and I'm creating these training videos with NoviEdge. And so I look at it and I go, oh my gosh, like, look, he put that desire in my heart all those years ago. And here it is. So those big, wild heart's desires and dreams, like, I just think, we share them with God because he cares. And something that I've been talking to my 11-year-old Finn about, because he's always like, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And I said, here's the thing I think you start praying, Finn. Ask God to put desires in your heart for you to do what it is he created you to do. I said, he will do. He will answer that prayer. There's no way he won't answer that prayer, right? Like, because he created you for a purpose. And if you're asking him to guide you so you can live obediently, like, he's going to give you those desires in your heart. And so I think that we lay it all before him, whether it's our wildest dreams and funding for a ministry, or if it's the little bitty things, like just the everyday little silly things that we're like, why would God care about, something so, trivial? But he does. And I see him answering those little silly prayers too.
Amen, amen. He does. I thought of Psalm 37:4, delight yourself in the Lord and you shall have the desires of your heart.
Yep.
So as Finn does that, I'm excited to see what he has for his journey. And I'm thankful for our mom and dad that prayed for me. I'm in ministry. I got a brother that's a college basketball coach, a sister that's a teacher, and another brother that's a doctor. So we have all different interests, backgrounds, and just amazing how God just wires us up all differently. But together we can build his kingdom.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, man. If you've been blessed by this program, I hope you'll share it. Just been a blessing hanging out with Twila Brown the last 2 days. So thanks for listening. I hope to see you next time. My name's GregJHorn, and this is Hope is Here.
Thank you for listening to Hope is Here podcast. To listen to one of our previous programs or to make a tax-deductible donation, please go to our website, hopeishere.today. That's hopeishere.today. Did you know that Hope is Here is also available on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter? You can find all of these at Hope is Here Lex. Also, check out the daily 1-minute Cup of Hope, available on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. That helps you keep your cup hopeful. To find out more information, go to our website, www.hopeisheretoday.org. That's www.hopeisheretoday.org.